Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Getting wealthy in crypto doesn't happen overnight. You may find some outlier stories from time to time of that guy who really did get rich very quickly, and even if the story's true, it's still an outlier. That's not representative of something that you should reasonably expect to occur for yourself. And the truth is that even if you tried to replicate whatever behaviors led to this miraculous occurrence, it's probably not going to go so well for you. Like, that's the truth of the matter. Most of the people that engage in the types of things that result in these outlier stories fail and lose everything or a lot. That's the truth of the matter. And so if you want to get rich in crypto, it is the case that you just have to have some true spine. You cannot be linguini spine. You have to have a sufficiently long-term mindset. You have to have diversity. I mean, I strongly encourage that, even though I'm biased. XRP is my favorite coin. It's my largest individual holding. I do hold a bunch of different cryptocurrencies. I think that makes a ton of sense. And so it takes years for most people to achieve that life-changing wealth. But you know what's fascinating? Even though you have to go through that process that is a number of years, that's the story for most of us that get really wealthy in crypto. But what's really fascinating, and I don't think enough people realize, is that in the end, like, the days that are the most momentous, that result in the lion's share of your life-changing wealth in crypto, it actually is just a handful of days. And I don't think most people realize that, but there's also a lesson in there, which is why when I get a little bit later into this video to this story from Cointelegraph, which is warning of a potential fall of XRP, just remember this. Even if it's true, and I'm not counting on something disastrous to happen here. It's just that, like, I firmly believe we're going to enter face melt territory before the cycle's over. I do. The analysts that are calling for double-digit price action for XRP, I don't know if they're right, but I don't think it's crazy. Even the analysts that are saying we're going to 20 or 30 bucks, I don't think that's in Looney Tunes land. I don't know if it'll happen. Safely supplanted within the confines of reality, right? I will just say, even if we go a little bit lower first, it doesn't matter, because as I always say, and you'll understand why I'm saying this as we go through the video, either you have exposure when the big, incredible moves happen, or you do not. So take a look at this post. This is from the Nijin Tropic account. This is run by the co-founders of on-chain analytics firm Glassnode. And they posted this just yesterday. And I'm glad that they did. I have talked about this topic a number of times. It's true in the stock market, and it's true in crypto, and not enough people know this. Not enough people appreciate this. So let me spread the message a little bit. So here's the post from Nijin Tropic. In the 2021 bull run, 14 days were responsible for 90% of the returns. Missing out on those can make the difference between a 2x and a 10x. Folks, please let that sink in for just a moment there. There are 365 days in a single year. I'm not counting leap year. That's 365 days in a year. And 14 of them, that's a tiny percentage of the days in a year for the bull run. 14 of those days, 14 out of the 365 days, were responsible for 90% of the returns, which means almost none of the days resulted in almost all of the profit. That's what that means. Almost none of the days, very few of them, resulted in almost all the profit. This is why I always say, either you have exposure when these things happen, or you don't. And the only way to make sure that you do is to live that HODL lifestyle. Like, that's the truth. You don't need some sort of special fancy trading plan. You don't need a time market. You don't need to get in and out of positions. It just happens when it happens. And throughout the process, a lot of people panic sell. A lot of people get bored. They think that maybe they bought the wrong thing, and then they're just going to get out of it because they think they know better, tinkering with their positions. Those are the people that fail. Those are the people that fail to get rich in crypto. The people, and the data bears this out, the people who get wealthy in crypto, and this is true in the stock market too, they buy stuff and then they don't do anything. They just hold. Now, of course, if finally one day it's an outsized portion of your net worth, you're like, wow, this really did work, and you want to take profit, go for it. But along the way, if you think that timing the market, getting in and out of positions, this and that, you know better than everyone else, okay, well, you're going to fail. That's what the data says. And so to think that, having exposure versus not having exposure could be the difference between just getting a twofold increase versus a tenfold increase, it's pretty wild, isn't it? But it's actually even worse than that for those types of people that do like to tinker with positions and get in and out and time markets. They try and time markets anyway. Because the truth of the matter is, like, he cited there, that's the 2021 bull run. But a bull run only happens once every 4 years. What about the other 3? I mean, you get some up days over the course of time, but the most important days are going to happen during that, which means you need to go through even more time typically to get to the point where you can have a year where there might be 14 good days. You see what I'm saying? This is why I keep telling you, since, like, you just have to be at peace with this, and I admit this happily. I do not know when the market's going to blast off. I don't know what specific day. I firmly believe that in a general sense, yes, the market's going to keep rhyming with itself, but I don't know what the hell day it's going to go off. But I don't have to. I don't have the pressure of having to know that. I'm at peace, accepting fully that I am never going to know when that's going to happen. But you know what I do know? I do know that when it happens, I'm going to have a fuck ton of money invested in the market because I spent years planning for this. That's the truth. And you can choose to do this too. You just have to not make stupid decisions that typical investors make when they're new to investing, because you're going to lose that way. You can be a huge winner in this. And so I reposted that this afternoon. And I wrote, I wish more people knew this. This is why I hodl. I didn't know when those 14 days would occur in 2021, but I had exposure to the market for all of them. Timing markets destroys wealth accumulation. Buying and then doing nothing makes you rich. Period. So as long as we're right about the long-term viability of XRP, and I firmly believe we are, it couldn't be more obvious XRP is an early winner in the space, you don't have to worry about it. Now, you don't choose when XRP goes, but isn't there some sort of emotional peace in just understanding that? That since you can't just control what you can control, which is yourself. You can only control yourself. The market will go when it goes, right? But see, the cool thing is that means even when the market goes down, if we are right, and I firmly believe we're right, it doesn't matter in the end. You just let enough time pass, and then the rest of the world finds out that you were right. That's pretty much it. That is true. That is where we're at right now. And there's no indication that this thing's over. Take a look at this post. This is also from Nijin Tropic. It says, the last time our network growth indicator accelerated this strongly while liquidity reset was April 7th, the global bottom this year. And so that was after the tariff scare, of course. It says Ethereum rallied over 100% from that point. It's happening again. You know what comes next. Oh, yes, I do know what comes next. Alt season, folks. Doesn't matter what sort of short-term pullbacks there are in the meantime. Ain't going to matter. It's just not going to matter. He is correct about this. And here's the chart that was being referenced, by the way. It's from Bitcoin Vector. Bitcoin fundamentals are strengthening. Liquidity may be paused, but network growth is accelerating. This isn't a breakdown. It's a buildup. When macro liquidity returns, Bitcoin is already loaded. And we know that global liquidity has been trending upwards. I've been covering this very frequently on this channel, let's say. And knowing that Bitcoin and thus the entire crypto asset class lags behind by about 12 weeks, you can kind of figure out what's likely to occur more or less over a specific period of time. The trend upward is not over. And we know that crypto follows global liquidity directionally close to 90% of the time. So what does that tell you? Well, we can never technically know anything for sure. Okay. What is most probable then? Okay. Obviously up. We're not done with this yet, folks. Take a look at this post from chart analyst eGreg Crypto, XRP price chart on your screen here. It says XRP analysis. 4-hour time frame update. Let's zoom in to the XRP chart to identify potential price movements and behavior on lower time frames. That just means the short term, of course. It says, zooming in, 5 key observations. Number 1, bullish closing. We're seeing multiple candlesticks closing above $3, a significant psychological level. Whole numbers make it easier for traders to feel confident about their positions. 2, wick analysis. The wicks of the candles are primarily coming from the upside indicating that selling pressure is present but not overwhelming. The full body of the candles remains above $3, which is promising. And I will pause to note, this post of his is from yesterday. That is the same thing that a couple other chart analysts are saying in terms of the way he characterized here, of course, is that, the selling pressure is not overwhelming. Another analyst that I highlighted, Casey Trade, said, it looks like selling is exhausted. It's the way that it was articulated. Sharing a pretty similar concept there, obviously. And that's held at least to the point, up to the point where I'm recording this video. In case anybody's curious, it's 9:46 p.m. Central Time, Wednesday, August 6, 2025. And so he says the full body of the candles remains above $3, which is promising. And then number 3, possible retest. We might see a brief revisit to the $2.96 to $2.93 range. Keep an eye on this area. Okay, now again, that was yesterday when he posted this. And today we actually did get to that range. That's fairly accurate. That's about what happened to this point. He says number 4, critical support. It's essential that we do not close below $2.80 again. Holding above this level is crucial for maintaining bullish momentum. Okay, that's a level that I've seen tons of analysts cite. So there must be something to that level. And you're kind of, sometimes we're splitting hairs because depending on the analyst, you could see off by a handful of pennies, whatever that is. But specifically 280, I have seen highlighted a number of times. Number 5 here, targeted goals. Close above $3.18 is the immediate target, with $3.25 as the next bullish milestone. In closing, $3.33 and $3.45 are both signal for new all-time high is coming. Well, as far as I'm concerned, just a matter of time, despite scary-sounding articles like this one from Cointelegraph. This one's titled, XRP Price Faces Full Pump Retrace if $2.65 support fails. And that's another level that has been cited, depending on which analyst you're looking at. But I have seen that one cited quite a bit as well. Check this out. Look at this scary-sounding article. And then as I'm going through this, keep thinking about what I said in the first part of the video, because it's just so obviously true. Like, the people that get rich in crypto, they're the ones that just understand that they're adults, and they understand that they don't get to choose when the market goes berserk and to the upside. And you get all the little crybaby biatches. I want my Lambo now, though. I want my Lambo on the moon right now. Shut up, you little baby back biatch. You do not choose when the market goes. That is that. The adults recognize this, and you either have exposure when this goes, or you don't. So what's the worst case scenario here, realistically? And I don't believe this is happening, but if we're actually entering a bear market, and I think it's unreasonable to even have a serious discussion about that right now, just my humble opinion here. But even if we were, you know what I'd do? Nothing. I would continue to hold, and then eventually, even if it's years from now, we're going to have another bull run, and I'm going to have exposure when that happens, because I can't control that stuff. The part that I can control, I'm controlling, which is myself literally doing nothing after I buy. I have that self-restraint. I do, and it's difficult for people. People that don't invest in this market have no idea how difficult it is for the average person to do nothing. It is kind of funny, but it's true. People suck at doing nothing. They must do something, and it's to their detriment. So check this out, this scary sounding article here. XRP is undergoing a sharp correction after rallying to a yearly high of $3.65 on July 18th. Since then, it's down nearly 19%, struggling to reclaim the $3.10 to $3 resistance zone. On Saturday, prices briefly dipped to a key support range between $2.66 and $2.80 before bouncing back on Sunday, forming a higher low. Data from CryptoQuant indicates that the retracement appears to be driven in part by large holders exiting the market. Wait, the large holders, they're leaving? Well, that's typically the smart money. What's going on there? Well, let's talk about this. Over the past weeks, XRP whale wallets, addresses holding significant amounts of XRP, have been steadily offloading their positions. Between July 9th and Tuesday, the 90-day moving average of whale net flows is currently negative 640 million XRP, valued at approximately $340 million, suggesting sustained distribution pressure that coincides with the recent price slump. Oh, well, that sounds scary. You're telling me that the whales, the rich ones, the smart money, they're getting the hell out of XRP? Well, shoot, does that mean that I should too? I mean, if they're doing it, why shouldn't I, right? Except for, here's the thing. So, whale accumulation has been tremendous at various points, and I've highlighted it last year. Throughout this year, there have been some notable increases in purchasing. Some of these whales are going to want to take profits in the short term rather than holding for years and years and years as the price goes up. So what they'll do is they will buy the fear. So they're actually playing that game. Some of them are. And again, I still insist that the best method for the average person, I'm in this bucket, I'm an average person. The best way for the average person to make money in crypto is to just not worry about any of this and you just hold. But there are some that are going to time markets. Now, if you have some actual skill, you don't have to be literally a day trader. Day trading's stupid. This isn't even day trading. This is playing swings. That's the next thing. Now, I don't even have interest in doing that. I just want to hold because I know that the less I do, the less opportunities that I'm going to screw something up. But there are those, and some of these are entities out there too. It could be actual businesses that are playing with large sums here. Sometimes those are the whales. They will play those swings. So when they see people panic selling, they'll buy. And then when it goes up, even if it's not to a new all-time high, in this case, XRP did hit a new all-time high though, then they sell. So when's the last notable time we saw this? When did we see behavior where the price of XRP was doing what it was doing, and then the whale stepped in, and then profit was taken? Well, take a look at this. Let me remind you of this. I've talked about this multiple times, including at the time. Here's a headline from December 3rd of 2024. XRP records highest ever whale activity as 7-day price gains near 100%. Now, the local high was December 2nd. I'm pulling from memory, but I believe this is accurate. December 2nd, XRP hit a local high, the highest it had been in the better part of a decade, of $2.90. And that was going to be the high for the next roughly 6 weeks. That was it. In fact, it went down quite a bit over time. So what was occurring? Well, look at this. And then just ask yourself, was this the end of the world? Like most of you lived through this. The vast majority of you listening, you lived through this. Look at this. They cite here. Again, December 3rd of last year. XRP has experienced a significant price increase, up by 430% in the last 30 days, reaching levels last seen in 2018. There's been an unprecedented movement of XRP by large holders, the whales, with CryptoQuant data indicating high whale activity over the past month. And that's the same firm in the previous article that I just shared with you in the new one. And then they write here, however, this whale activity may signal potential market tops. Well, that sounds terrifying. The market top, well, XRP did just jump a bunch. Maybe that's it. Was that it though? No, it was a local top. Well, see, that's the funny thing though. The market also kind of stalled for a bit, didn't it? And then everything started going again. But no, think about it. So you had that December 2nd local top, $2.90, went down and sideways a little bit. Mostly moved sideways for the next 6 weeks. And then it just burst. So what happened? Well, given that XRP went from 49 cents to $2.90, there were some larger accounts that took some profit. And what happened after that? How many reports did I show you throughout 2025 where whales were accumulating? Because, and of course, they were purchasing the fear from the tiny buyers out there. That's what they were doing. They feast on the fear. That's exactly what they do. So don't be surprised that when you see articles like this, where they're telling you that the large holders, the whales out there, are doing so-and-so, in this case selling. And there is truth to that. It happened in December too, because the price went up dramatically. And that's part of what they do. There are also separate whales, though, who are investing heavily for the long haul. So some are playing the swings, some are playing a multi-year thing. There are all sorts of publicly traded companies I've been highlighting as well that now are launching and have launched XRP as a treasury reserve asset. I don't think they're playing swings, especially the ones that are using XRP in actual corporate payment flows, because that's utility for those companies. They're playing the long haul. So you can do whatever you want. You could be a trader. I can guarantee you almost guarantee anyway, you're going to lose money. You could be instead of a trader, you could play the some of the swings that are a little bit bigger than that, so you're not getting in and out of positions on a daily basis. so then you're more hands off, so you're less likely to screw up that up, but you're going to screw it up still. Or you can do the super long-term thing like I do, which is, you buy stuff and then you just don't touch it unless one day it's worth a fortune and then you want to sell at a massive profit. That works. That's as hands-off as it gets. You can do whatever you want. And there's going to be big money and small money that engages in all of these behaviors. But the wealthy entities out there, I'm telling you, folks, that they have different abilities and emotional fortitude than the typical lemming retail speculators. So you can find successful traders, you can find successful individuals and businesses, institutions that will kind of play the big swings, but you can find the ones that find success there consistently and those who don't. Do you want to live that stressful of a life when you could just be hands off and not have to worry about any of this? That's as sure as it's going to get. All we then have to be right about is whether or not crypto makes sense. You have broad exposure. If you're right about crypto as an asset class winning, then you win. Do you really want to add all these additional layers of complexity where you have to be right about a bazillion other things along the way? I'm telling you, taking the complexity out of it, it's so obviously the right move. Couldn't be more obvious. Now, you're not going to find a lot of people telling you this because then they can't sell you courses. That's the truth. I just have nothing to sell you, so I'm just going to tell you the straight truth here. This is just how it is. And it's true in stocks, too. The same concept is true in stocks. So you can do whatever you want. I'm just telling you, the more you do, the greater the risk that you yourself are screwing things up for you. That's what I'm telling you. And I just have no interest in playing that game. So yes, you can find, like I said, instances when XRP had gone up and then some entities that are large do want to take some profit, even on a local time frame or lower time frame. Sure. But what do you think is going to be happening? What do you think is going to be happening after this? Did that last time it happened in December, did that signal the end for XRP? No. We had an all-time high January 16th. Had another all-time high in the middle of July, $3.65. So we're going to keep trending upwards, just let the years pass. We're going to keep getting there. But if you're concerned about what's happening on a shorter time frame, I still don't think it makes sense to be panicking here because we're not seeing top indicators. Everything's looking actually pretty damn fantastic for XRP, if you ask me. So you tell me what you think, but the truth is, even though we hold, most of us that find success, we hold for a number of years, it's actually just a handful of days that truly change your life. That is the honest to God truth. So you either have exposure when those days happen or you don't. And I know what I'm going to do. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say are right. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.